Okay, now I'm waiting for another thing, so I push it.
Okay. Okay, great. We are live now. Okay, so welcome everybody.
Come on.
It's been a whole week, and I feel like I need my daily dose of all my peoples on ACIM. So thank you guys for joining me this morning. Hello everybody on Instagram. Every single Sunday and Wednesday we talk about we talk about Course in Miracles, and we look at money through the perspectives of a Course in Miracles. So this is a Course in Miracles. And what is it? So the course, I'll read from, hang on, why is my phone saying that it needs to be plugged in? One sec. Doing.
What page? Oops. What page are you going to start with, Alex, so that I can follow?
So you can follow. Well, I'm going to read the introduction to the course real quick. And also, if in the event my computer just decides to die, the best place to really continue seeing this is on Instagram. So hopefully it doesn't do that because my other computer isn't set up yet. So this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can't have no opposites. This course is therefore summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Okay, so what does this all mean, right? It says that this course is, it talks about later on that this course is really one of many millions of universal courses of the same course, just different forms of it. So it's one form of the course. And we all have a curriculum. There is a law that governs the world, which we don't really see, governs reality with a capital R. Now, most of us see the world of this physical world, that is it, the material world. So the aim of what we're going to do on this call is to be able to cut through all the things that are not part of the capital R reality, so that we may recognize our true calling, we may recognize our true function, we may recognize what it is that we're really meant to do here and who we really are. And the course right here says that your natural inheritance is this unconditional love. And you can interchange love with God when I talk about it throughout this conversation. So the time that you take to understand the course, and you can apply this to all things. It's only what you elect to take at any given point. Because as I speak right now, you are also learning and listening through a filter of your own past, of your own stories, of your own limitations, okay, or beliefs, really. Okay, so everything, let's just call it all beliefs. You are listening through your own beliefs. You're compartmentalizing it like, okay, I agree with that. That makes sense. I like what he's saying here. I don't like what he's saying here. I don't believe this. So this whole like judging if I should or I shouldn't, if I like it, if I don't, if it's true or false to me, that is what gets in the way. So only the time it takes is voluntary. That means there will be things that will block you from being able to hear truth because of your own belief systems. So free will does not mean that you can establish this curriculum, this game of our spiritual being. Free will does not mean that you can establish that. However, you can decide how much you want to take in at any given time. Okay? Which means, which teacher will I listen to? And the way that we establish our listening is through what the Course calls forgiveness. And even forgiveness, that the way the Course has it and the way that the world has it is really opposites, right? Because forgiveness, the way we have forgiveness in the world is, I forgive you for what you did. I pardon you for what you did because I'm going to be greater. But if all things, the Course says that all things are ideas, including your belief that somebody could possibly hurt you, that you actually were hurt somehow, physically or mentally or whatever. That is an idea. Idea, the law of idea is that ideas grow as it is shared or as it is spoken into. Right? So if I say, I forgive you, I pardon you for what you did, really the only thing that is happening right there is that what you did is being amplified. Does that make sense? Like when we say, I don't want this, I want money, or I don't want money, either way, you're amplifying money. So even the way the world has forgiveness, I pardon you or I forgive you, all it does is amplify the act of something that happened. See, a lot of people, a lot of spiritual communities talk about conquering fear or, conquering the darkness or whatever we want to call it. Really, all that's doing is amplifying the idea of darkness. Does that make sense? So forgiveness in the world means that. And all we really do is continue to amplify the idea that somebody could actually hurt me. So stay with me here, because ideas grow as it is shared. So when we say forgiveness with the Course is to give as before. Give as before the act even happened, doing a clearing around that it never actually occurred, that what I thought my brother, what I thought that somebody did to me actually didn't happen. Now, forgiveness, what can we do forgiveness work around? Forgiveness is about all things past. There was a great quote yesterday that I read. It says, operate from your imagination rather than your past beliefs. Because our imagination is only limited by what we think we can achieve. And what we think we can achieve comes from our past experiences and our ideas. So the only way to learn the Course and to learn what reality really is to let go of the our reality, the lowercase r. All right, I was talking to somebody that I met yesterday, and he's like, I had to do some work. I went to transformational training, and I had to do some work around sales. He worked in the company. He was doing IT. He saw all the sales guys driving Ferraris and having a great time and all that. And he met up with them at a bar and said, hey, man, I want to be a sales guy. And one of the lead sales guys said, you will never be a sales guy. And he didn't realize that really bothered him and had him not be able to do sales for 20 years in his life. That moment when somebody said, you will never be a sales guy. Now that's happened to us in our life too. Money is hard to come by. Whatever idea that was planted in you grew. So where's my computer keeps popping in and out. 1 second. So somebody put an idea in his mind, and because he kept thinking about it. He doesn't even know he's thinking about it. It's just being amplified and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. He had to do a forgiveness around it. At some point, he actually said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go do sales. He closed the sale, $146,000. That challenged that belief. See, he grew this belief that I can't sell, right? Or I can't make money. Any ideas you have about anything grows as you feed it. Now, on the flip side, oh, hold on, I'm going to let somebody in the room. Any ideas that you feed or you share grows. All right. That means, doesn't that mean, see, here's the conflict, okay? In our world, if we give money to somebody, we give and we have less of. We're sacrificing or we're giving up of something. If we think about philanthropists, okay, philanthropists in the world, if we think about the greatest philanthropists in the world, we think about the people that gave a lot of money, right? They had to give up something to be a philanthropist. The Course actually says that generosity and philanthropy really comes from just constant being in a state of joy and willing to give that away. Now, if money didn't have a meaning, think about this. We give joy away because we're like, okay, yeah, it's a great thing that I want and I want to exude it. Why don't we want to exude money? We want to be happy. We want to be joyous. So I'm going to be happy and joyous when I walk into a room because we have a certain idea about joy and about sharing that. Now, the conflict that comes for all of us is that when it comes to the physical material things, all of a sudden the law doesn't apply anymore. That money becomes something I got to hold on to. That if I give it away, that means I have less of it. You see, this is the idea that I want to be sharing with the world constantly, because as I share this, it grows in my mind and that it grows in the world. It grows in the collective mind because all minds are joined, which is continuously collapsing and bringing together the physical world and the physical and the spiritual world. And really all we have to do is look at love and joy and money. The way that we have these two things separated is really the separation and the distraction and the confusion that we have about all things in life. There's two different laws that are operating. One is the law of lowercase reality. One is the law of capital reality, the true reality. One says that if I give something, I have less of. The other one says if I give something, I have more of. You see how there's such a confusion there? And every single moment of our lives, our choice is just between those two things. Which one am I going to believe in? Is it the capital reality or the lowercase reality? Now, the Course continuously in this giant book, the Course is really just telling you, and it labels it, when you believe in the lowercase reality, ultimately you will go down the rabbit hole of pain and suffering, and it comes down to separation. At the end of it, its true goal is separation. I need to be away from this person. I need to cut myself away from this person. That's always what happens when you go down the lowercase reality rabbit hole, because there is always a give and take, a give and take. And when we operate from this give and take, at some point, the ego, what the ego always does is it makes what you give bigger, it amplifies what you give, and then it diminishes what other people, what you're receiving. So at one time you may be like, oh man, this is so much value that I'm getting here. But as you listen to it over and over again, let's say going to GrowthCon, going to Grant Cardone's conference, the first time sitting in there, wow, this is so much value. It's drastically shifting my mind. The 10th time sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm paying $1,000 for this ticket, and I don't feel like I'm getting the value anymore. It's the same thing that's happening, but it's just the way you choose to sit and be in that space. Are you in a place of gratitude so that you can expand gratitude? Or are you in this like judgment now? It works, it doesn't work, I don't. If you sit in that place, it will always go down to that you are giving more and others are giving less. The course calls that specialness. You're pushing this line of specialness towards them, towards the other person. Hold on, somebody else. So for anybody that is just chiming on right now, we're talking about the two different laws that operates in our mind. The law of the physical world versus the law of the spiritual world. They are complete opposites of each other. And we don't know which one to believe. That is the problem. One says that if I give something, I now have less of and you have more. If I give $100 or if I give $1,000, I have 1,000 less and 1,000 more. The other one says if I give love and I give joy, all of a sudden I have more love and more joy. Only one can be real. Which one is real is what you have to practice every single day. It has to be alive in you every single day. It's not a one-time, let me read it, I understand it, and it's done. Because every moment of your life is just only between those two questions. Is giving, okay, how you receive, or is giving how you, does giving require giving up of something? So back to the generosity, the philanthropy idea, because this week there was so much philanthropy that happened. I went to GrowthCon thinking that this is what I was going to get. I'm going to meet some people. I'm going to find somebody to fund our deals and who's going to have money, this and that. I end up meeting this little girl, Ever, and her dad. So Ever Matson, look her up. Her story is incredible. Okay, they were homeless at one point in their life, and so they wanted to. Their mission is to feed America, to make sure that kids never go hungry. So she started by having little pop-up stands. They sold lollipops, and one thing leads to another. The Rock shows up in front of their stand, set all their lollipops, $700. And because she knew that The Rock had $7, had to start from $7. She started this challenge to flip $7 that she received. And in 21 days, she flipped it to $95,000. Her goal is 100K. I mean, a lot of us can learn about capital raising from her, but she raised it to 95, and I meet her this weekend. They didn't have tickets to go to the conference, you know, and
why is the water spilled in the kitchen?
They didn't have tickets to go to the conference, and they were raising money, but the 10X people are like, no, you're not allowed to come here and do all this fundraising thing. You know, don't come near here. So I met them at lunch. Like I decided, for some reason, I decided not to go to lunch with all the people in the VIP and all that. So I went out to lunch and we run into each other. We sit down at the same table. We talk about the stories. And I realized that the entire reason that I'm here at GrowthCon was to help her raise this last $5,000 to get to 100,000. And so I had a conflict for a while. I was in a scarcity mindset because I was doing a meetup Thursday night, and it was really expensive. It was really expensive that I was kind of uncomfortable with. And I was like, stuck in this scarcity thought. And as soon as I decided that this was my mission, I was like, you're coming to the meetup tomorrow night. I promise you, I guarantee that you will get to 100K. In my mind, I could guarantee that because if it didn't get there, I was going to cover the rest and get there. So I went from this being an expensive room to I'm so ready to pay for this room, and I'll cover any of that extra to get her to 100K. All of a sudden, in my mind, I was excited about the meetup. See, I went from scarcity in the meetup to complete abundance. And it was just one thought. And I made my mission to help her raise that money. And we get to the event, and there's a bunch of people there. We're up speaking. I call her up to tell her story. One guy that was sitting in the audience also was homeless at some point in his life, but became really, really successful. He walks up to her because, and there's people literally in tears of how she's sharing because it really touched people. He walked up and took his entire, everything out of his wallet and handed it over to her. It was a stack of hundreds like this big, even with like casino gambling receipts from different hotels on top of that too. So in one shot, she raised all that money. And then other people really was inspired. I mean, it was a really inspiring moment. You know, he was so moved that he got up so fast and whipped out all of the money. And he was actually saying that for the last couple of days, he wasn't feeling very good. He was sitting at the tables. He like was gambling, then didn't want to gamble and just had all this money sitting in his wallet, didn't know what he was doing, and just felt really like crappy. And that was it. That moment called for him. And as soon as he gave that money, he felt like really good. And so if we can remove like the meaning of money that we put on money, whether we you know, and all of us have some sort of limitation around money, right? Like if you don't have money, you have limitations. If you have money, you're afraid to lose it. So there's always some sort of scarcity around money. But in that true giving right there, she's raising money for Feeding America. She's 14 years old. It's like all that, and I love it because it really, she just represents this like innocence, right? And the course actually always talks about bringing our mind back to innocence. Everybody was excited to give money to her. You know, that's how she was able to flip $7 to $100,000 in 22 days. Like she didn't have limitations around money. She doesn't have these ideas. When I saw a stack of hundreds like that, even I have ideas. All the ideas I have about money also showed up there. She was just like, oh, cool, thanks, yay. Like the innocence. This is forgiveness. The Forgiveness New York is about bringing your mind to forgiveness. Bring your mind to innocence, to that innocent moment. Okay, that when we do forgiveness around people, it's about bringing it to innocence, to the innocent place. That they did not do what I thought they did to me. Okay, the atonement is to accept the fact that we are innocent children of God, child of God, one child. We are one child and we are innocent. All minds are joined. Okay, there are so many amazing stories of when people think of something, all of a sudden someone else also thinks it, and then we're like, oh my God, this is meant to be. Meant to be moments. Like we talked about it. And the entire time, so from the event, I gave her my pass so she can go in and see Mark Wahlberg and see Tom Brady and see other speakers. And I was so excited to do that. I just wanted her to have such a great experience. Like that's the abundant thinking. Like, of course I want to see Mark Wahlberg live. Of course I want to see some of the amazing speakers live. But I just wanted her to have such a great experience that she gets to experience it. I didn't care that I missed out. I was actually more full from doing an act like that. Now, where and how can we practice that on the daily? See, that's the question, right? So yeah, I'll pause there for a moment. I'll take any questions, any thoughts. It's so funny. Every Zoom room, there's so many otters. Otter AI in all the Zooms that I do now. Hello? Okay. Well, let's go back to the manual for teachers. So this book is really set up in 3 sections. One is the text. It's the practical things about the text. The middle is the workbook. Okay, there's a lesson for every single day, 365 days. And then there is a manual for teachers, which is questions that most students will have as they go through it. So go ahead, Lyra, you can ask your question first.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand how I'm going to process this on one situation that I have. So he had a tenant, long-term rental, that we evacuated in October. We gave them free rent or whatever the last month. And she decided that she's not going to turn in the keys to us. We're in California, so we can't get in unless they turn in the key. So it has been 5 months now that she's still there, but she chose not to. She doesn't want to pay rent. She doesn't want to turn it over. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, I don't want to judge, but how do I process this from a forgiveness perspective? Okay, so fine, you don't want to turn it in. I guess I can't do anything about it. And then the other day, my property manager sent me a couple of pictures from the neighbor saying that she goes there at least 2 to 3 days and stay there all day. So, she's really enjoying staying there and just for free rent. So I just want to get your perspective on that one. How do I process that
Yeah.
from
So,
forgiveness perspective?
yeah, got it. Oftentimes, we always think that somebody has to give in order to rectify a situation, right? And they're not doing it because they're just bad people. See, that's the first thing that we got to think about is like, okay, if all minds are joined, what is she representing as a part of my mind, right? Like, what is this teacher? Like, first identify her as a teacher. Like, she's obviously teaching me something. It's not about her being out. It's not about the rent. It's not about, because if money was just, if we didn't have any meaning attached to money, then we're like, yeah, cool, stay there, whatever. I'm glad I could provide a place for you, my, sister or my brother, right? Like, first is to get our mind to that clarity level, to access gratitude towards them. Because as your mind thinks hostile thoughts towards somebody, thinks attack thoughts towards somebody, they feel it, they know it, the mind is all joined, and they will get into a defensive position to keep it still, right? To keep this problem happening. Now, you can be, loving, send some loving thoughts that way. That's what I always do when I have somebody trigger me, and it's like, all right, like, now you're just taking advantage of it. Now you're just, whatever the attack thoughts come. First, just you can be grateful for that you even have this place to be able to do this. You can send some love to them. Like, I hope that they have whatever scarcity things that they're going through, that they resolve it quickly and peacefully, harmoniously, because they've taught it, they've shown me where I'm accessing the same energy through their action. See, it's always shared and it's grown. Now, after that, obviously go through the process you need to be like, all right, how do I get my keys back? Okay, let me have a conversation with this person. Hey, like, I just want to, know, like, if you're okay, like, it really come from a genuine place without the agenda behind it. Like, I need my keys back. Because more often than not, when you access from love and understanding and compassion, people aren't bad inside. They're not going to take advantage of you, even though they may seem to out of desperation. But everybody wants to be good and wants to do good. And this is what the Course says. Our practice is to see the light in everyone, especially those that we think are taking advantage of us or are hurting us in one form or another. Let me see the light in this person. And then, if I can, muster up enough of myself to come and show and talk and converse in a way that is loving, then results will show me. Results will show me, how I operated. Because if you leave there having a whole out argument with them, then you went in with the intention of going to war. Now, if you leave knowing, oh man, you know, whatever they choose to do, I just feel good that I was able to shed some love and give some light to a person in need. Right? Nobody really wants to live in that place, living out of integrity. Nobody wants to be that person. Everyone wants to be great. So now this person, how can I help you? Like I'm really here. I want to talk to you. You know, how can I help you? Like you've obviously, you know, somehow you've figured that this is a thing to do, but how can I help you? Right? Like, are you struggling? Are you challenged? Like, you know, what can I do? Right? Can we make an agreement that I'll give you that you can live another month for free, and I won't go through the entire, you know, I won't call the sheriff or go through the eviction process, whatever. That's going to be embarrassing for both of us, or for, you know, whatever. Like, let's come to an agreement. Can we do that? Like from a loving space, you know, and see how that comes out. Right? Or, you know, I don't know, even a gesture of some sort of gift. But we have to check ourselves though. Are we doing it so that they can get out? Or are we truly coming to a place of, I really want this brother or sister of mine to experience, to feel loved, right? All these acts, everything that is happening that we see, it's really love or a call for love. If we had all the money in the world and money didn't matter anymore in our minds, then we would be like, oh man, I'm so happy that I could provide a place for somebody to live in, money or not. Right? So we want to look at what is it that we're really facing. And I know this gets hard. See, this is the work here. The work isn't about actually getting the rent. The work is about the dragon that I have to face, the monster that I have to face, which is all the belief systems that I have that keeps me in a poverty mindset, in a scarce mindset.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's nothing to do with money. I'm happy I can provide, right? Yeah. But then I'm going, what did I do? This is like reflecting. It's a reflection of my, you know, I guess my internal, what is it that I need to do? I must be, you know, it's something that I did. That's why now it's projecting back to me. So.
Yeah. And, you know, there's so many things also happening in my life, a lot of partnerships. They're all blessings and learnings for me. You know, something not going the way we want to go in North Carolina, and over like $10,000, they're willing to go to lawsuits over it and halt the rest of the projects that our other investors are involved in. I'm like, yo, take 10K. I will give up 10K for you guys to stop this little bickering, right? Like, look at the bigger project. We have other investors lined up for our other properties. You tie this up in court, now everybody suffers because you're like, nope, I refuse to be wronged over $10,000. I'm right about the 10,000 and you're not, you know, and over principle, I should get it. I'm like, all right, I mean, over principle, here's my principle, take the $10,000 from me, right? I'm always about the bigger picture, and cut out your own meaning of money. And I've done that over and over and over again, and money just comes flowing back over and over again into me too. And I'm so blessed how my life has been. You know, there are multiple people that multiple times, good morning. There are multiple situations in my life that I just brought people in to be partners, to get equity in the deal and whatever. And then they, right after that, don't live up to their end. And it's like, oh, no, I can't do it anymore. But I still want the equity that you gave me. I'm gonna keep it. You know, I asked somebody, I was like, so what do you think about this deal? You know, like I upfront, out of good faith, I, you know, gave you 50% of my position. And you were supposed to be like my right-hand person. And literally right after I gave it, you said you can't do it anymore because you have other responsibilities. Now it's time for our K1, our taxes, whatever. Well, what do you think about the company? Oh, well, this is, I still think I should, like really just thinking that they should still keep it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I just wanted to know, if they felt like there was an agreement that was broken, but if they felt that they still deserved it, fine. Right? I'm not here to argue about being right. And one of the funny things last night, one of my buddies, Chris Luna, he went to the escape room. He's like, "This is my first time doing an escape room. Do you have any feedback or any advice for me?" I'm like, "Not once ever have I not escaped this escape room. Me, I've never once." And I'm like, the only reason that I've never failed an escape room is because I was, the first time I was in it, I recognized how righteous I was being. Because if you ask for a clue, okay, it means a certain thing. It means I'm not good enough. It means the time's going to get shed and I might, whatever. Like the people that I was in the room with too were like, no, we can't ask for clues. And then at some point we were stuck for like 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm asking for as many clues as we need to get out of here. Because I mean, every time you ask a clue, you also lose some time. So it does cut into it. But I was like, okay, clue. Every time we were stuck for 5 minutes, I was like, clue. So I was like, if you want to get out of the room, guaranteed, like just ask for clues.
Yep.
And it's fun because you get the clue, you're like, oh, okay, dang, I should have figured it out. And then the next clue is like right there. And then you can get to the next thing because you'll figure out the next clue. You just needed some help. But we have this thing of if I ask for a clue and I'm with people, it makes me seem incapable or something. So I was like, the only advice I can give you is don't be righteous in the room. And that applies to all of life. Why do we want to be right about things? We don't know if that's for our best interest or not, whether they pay us the rent or not. Like, this is your teacher, okay? The person that triggered you, there's so much to learn from them. You had a soul contract with this person to come and give you this moment of teaching. God put this person in your apartment. Out of all the apartments out there, they're in your apartment. Like, what? What's the chances of that? You hit the lottery there. So what is this lottery about? Now it's up to you to decide how you will step into love in that situation. Right. So yeah, I mean, I hope it supports you, and that you continue to learn patience and forgiveness and love through that event. Every single day we are presented with opportunities to be generous and to be loving.
Yes. Thank you very much. That helps very much.
Someone
Thank you,
triggered
Alex.
you this week. Listen, if people are not triggering you, then there's a problem. Okay? People are here to teach you. There's teachers all around. And it's not just in the form of somebody sitting here and talking about A Course in Miracles. It's like the people that are in your life giving you the opportunity to practice A Course in Miracles. That's where the work is done. This is just a reminder. It's a conversation. It helps us step into love for maybe the next hour or two. Yeah. And to bring our minds to, it gives us perspective, and yeah, if your mind is more relaxed and more loving, then you can make the choice that's the best for the whole. Okay. So I'll read generosity in the course real quick. And then we can open up a dialogue or a conversation. Okay, so also I have to hold the cord up in the air right now on my left hand so that it remains charging. I don't know what's happening. So my arm is getting kind of tired. If you see my arm, like right here, it's just.
Is that what the beeping keeps on? That beeping is you plugging it back in?
Oh crap. Yes. Now my chair just broke. Great. Okay. All
What's
right.
the lesson there, Alex? What's the lesson?
I don't know. I'm stopping myself. It's an obstacle of reading generosity. but I'm doing it. It ain't stopping me. Okay. So this cord, this computer. Okay. Generosity is one of the natural lessons. It just keeps going. It just keeps beeping. Like, what's its deal? Zoom is using significant energy. Cool. Okay. Anyways, I will read, and hopefully this beeping sound doesn't bother you guys too much. Okay. The term generosity has special meaning to the teacher of God. It is not the usual meaning of the word. In fact, it is a meaning that must be learned and learned very carefully. Like all other attributes of God's teachers, this rests ultimately on trust. For without trust, no one can be generous in the true sense. To the world, generosity means giving away, in the sense of giving up. To the teacher of God, it means giving away in order to keep. This has been emphasized throughout the text in the workbook, but it is perhaps more alien to the thinking of the world than many other ideas in our curriculum. It is great. Its greater strangeness lies merely in the obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking. In the clearest way possible and at the simplest level, the word means the exact opposite to the teacher of God and to the world. So it's like all the ideas that we talk about, it's literally upside down from how we have it in the world. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest, capital self, the collective self. It's the whole, okay? Generous, knowing that I give and I give to the whole. This does not refer, however, to the self of the world, the self of which the world speaks. The teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away because he realizes it would be valueless to him by definition. What would he want it for? He could only lose because of it. He could not gain. Therefore, he does not seek what only he could keep, because that is a guarantee of loss. So when we seek things that only we can keep, now it's just really going for this beeping sound. Anything that we keep only for ourselves, we ultimately lose. Think about this. I was having a conversation with my friend this week too. I was like, saving money is the surest way to go broke. It's crazy. Like, every small thinking comes down to trying to save money. You cannot grow a business if all you're trying to do is save money. What ends up happening is you have to cut corners in which your business needed. If your business operates at 50% expenses, and so if you make $100 for every $50 that you spend, shouldn't you figure out how to spend $1,000 so you can make $2,000? Right? See, there's another opposite upside down thinking. But our ego goes into let me save, let me cut, let me save, let me cut. Like, people that have broken the game, and in marketing and ads and social media, it's all the same thing. How do I spend more money? Because if you operate at 50%, then it's like, let me go and spend $1 million so I can make 2 million. But if we go from, let me take the $50 down to $47 so I can make $53, I can make $3 by cutting it down $3 instead of trying to get $100 more, $200 or $500 more. Like, this is the thing. And every one of the speakers said one way or another that an investment in yourself is the best investment that you can make. Now, we may not tangibly see it right away, and we may have judgments on it and what we're learning and what we got ourselves into. But when we look back 10 years, we will realize that was an important point in our life that had an impact in whatever you created in this moment. We always underestimate, somebody said this week, we always underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years and overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year. Or maybe over expect, let's call it that. Okay, back to this. These are the things that belong to him. These he can give away in true generosity, protecting them forever for himself. So we're seeking the things that we can give away. I wonder if I pull this cord out. Uh-oh. Now my Instagram is saying poor connection. So I'm in a new place, new stuff. I could get frustrated about all this technology stuff, but it's funny. And we can all laugh about it. Okay, so let's pause here. Anybody have any thoughts, any questions?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Since I was virtual, it ended up that Pete was really bumming because he thought he was going to get to bring and interview Tom Brady. And like you were saying, life happens. Like right now, you're having some life happening. And so Pete ended up finding out at the end that in Tom's contract, he couldn't come backstage. So he had to improvise. And then a lot of people got upset and everything else, but it's your mindset on. I looked at it as I still got my $97 worth. I mean, I had great people. I mean, just because I didn't get to see Tom Brady, okay, no big deal. But I thought it was kind of funny because Pete's saying every now and then life happens. And so like right now, you're having a life happens moment. So
Yeah.
bye-bye. So you got to deal with it and run with it and say, hey, guess what? Life happens, hon. Accept it. And sorry about your computer problems.
It's cool. I'm good with it. I've now found a new position in which to hold my arm, and it's not doing it. See?
If only life was so simple.
But it really is. It really is that.
Yeah, it
simple.
is. It is. It is.
I was just holding my arm in the air in a position that was working before, and it stopped working because probably my arm got tired and moved. Now I'm resting my arm on the table, and I just got to hold it in this other certain position. So, we just like having fun with everything is so important. Just have joy, inspiring joy, and moments in which it may not normally be
So
joyful.
Alex, if you take it off the charger, it'll die?
Yes, it is on like 4%.
Oh, it's on life support already then.
It's on life support. So what else? I mean, we got a lot. I feel like we actually have more time today, even though we started late too. We got a lot in as well. What other challenges are you guys seeing, going through for yourselves? What can we share so that we can all learn together from?
I do got to admit, I liked Megyn Kelly. I mean, at the conference because she used her voice. I loved that she used her voice, but when she came backstage, I seen a totally different aspect of people that, they got ugly, and it was not good. I wasn't impressed with that, but I loved how she just said, it's your right, and everybody needs to know that it's your right to use your voice, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's true.
If I can kind of jump in and take this into a completely different direction, since you opened the floor for that, Alex.
Let's go. The floor is always open.
So, I think back in my church days, I've got a lot of negative attachments to that I'm still working on. But one of the things is I still felt like I had this connection with a loving God.
Mm-hmm.
And so since now taking on all of this work, and so much of it's focused on our egos, right? Egos and egos and egos. I'm sitting here today and I'm like, gosh, I don't feel like I can define God. I don't feel like I can sense her, him, it. Relationally, I can't like that part is missing as I do the ACIM journey.
Mhm.
And I just want to see how everybody else sees this, sees God, feels like, if you're praying, that there is this higher power. Because as I do ACIM work, I kind of feel like we're really learning how we are our own higher power with the connection, right? But relationally, it's just missing for me with this God figure.
Yeah. If anybody wants to answer that first.
No, we want to hear your answer, Alex.
And I want to hear yours.
I believe everybody believes in a high, whatever, in a higher power. I mean, getting back to the church part, I had a hard time with the church aspect. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, which means I come from a different place. I come from love. And when you start coming from love and knowing that God wants the best for everybody, I think that you will have a better relationship with God. Does that make sense? Since nobody wanted to go
Here's my
with it.
picture.
I have a
picture
different
of a
take.
black dog.
I have a different take on that, and it's mainly come from reading the Abundance book. By the way, I'm up to day 22. Forgot about it.
Whoa, that's
I'm killing
amazing.
it. I mean, but I don't want to jinx myself because I figure the further along I go, I just want to like stumble on it just so I can start all over again. Because I know I'm going eventually. It's going to be hard to do 20 something days. Anyway, the way that and one of the first lessons in it, and it's just stuck with me each time, is that I believe that God, like I said, God is individualized in me. So instead of me for so many years thinking that God was something out there that I had no access to, that I didn't know what he or she looked like or what was possible, I started internalizing God now and realizing that I don't want to say that I am God, but God is individualized in me. And therefore, my relationship with me is the most crucial relationship that I do have, because until I acknowledge the God in me and acknowledge my godliness, I will never break out from those tiny little bullshit things that I get worried about, money and how is this going to happen and how am I going to get there? And so now as I walk around, because once you really sense that God is you or is in you, now I have a different idea of who I am and what I'm capable of. So God being individualized in me took away that mystery of who that guy in the sky or whoever it is or higher power and everything. So I no longer have to give it a name or face or value because it's all in me. And that's just changed everything as far as God. And I also do not believe in organized religion. I believe in A Course in Miracle and Alex Almighty.
I
Oh.
really appreciate that response, Jessica. I really do. That's very thought-provoking. And what a great reminder. And like what I'm noticing that you're doing is when you notice God is in you and of you, you notice your authentic self versus like I would think describing me. I'm like, okay, here's my insecure, judgmental part. How do I see God through my ego when I'm feeling all the negative stuff? So thank you for your response. It's very, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was great. Glad somebody's reading the Abundance book. We're on day 6, right, Desiree? We have a system now. I need a buddy system to keep me accountable. I've restarted like 8,000 times. So day 6. All right, go ahead, Lyra.
I'm on day 22 and sweating it every night.
That's amazing.
I'm actually on day 14. So,
Wow.
day 14.
Yeah, but
But-
I'm committed to continue doing it even past day 40. I'm just going to keep on doing it over and over again because I see the difference in the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I just wanted to, add into what Jessica said. For me, going through the Course of Miracle and now the Abundance, it actually, it's kind of the same for me. I thought before I was raised Catholic, right? So there's this faith in God and afraid or whatever. And as I became an adult and now going through this course, it felt to me before God is like way out there. And now I learned that it's actually within me. And I try to be more, I feel more closer to God, whatever we call it. And that in turn, I try to be more nice to myself because I feel him in me, right? So I use, I'm one of those that very critical of myself, but now, I can express more love within myself because I know that I feel so much closer to him.
Yeah.
So.
For me, God is really, and it doesn't even matter what you think God looks like or the idea of God. The Course says it does not aim at the meaning of love, or does not aim at teaching the meaning of God, for that is beyond what can be taught. None of us can even teach it. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of God's presence, which is your natural inheritance, or it's individualized as you. You are that. And you can picture God as the ocean, as the cosmic intelligence, whatever it is, but the abundance book, okay, it's really, I feel like the abundance book really is like a Course in Miracles, but basically it says that any lack that you can possibly perceive doesn't actually exist. True abundance comes from, okay, 1 second, I will answer that. True abundance comes from the recognition that all things that could possibly be needed will be filled. So think about it in this way: a crater in the ocean floors. Okay, when a crater is formed or lava, whatever happens, anything that comes up, okay, any gap that shows up on the ocean floor, what happens? Water fills it right away. The ocean fills it right away. The moment that there could even possibly be a lack or a hole, it is filled already. And that's why the Course says you couldn't possibly have any problems without the solution already there. And so the abundance book really talks about the way in which we perceive and look at money. And then it gives a 40-day practice. Okay, it goes, you write down something from the beginning, then you listen to a meditation. You can read it and close your eyes and kind of meditate on it. Or on YouTube, you can go to the abundance book day 1 and you listen to it. It's 15 minutes long. After you're done, write down something. You can write it down on your phone. You can write it down in your journal. But what I've recognized is that the moments that I actually take, the 15 minutes that I take to practice something, I'm like, why is this so freaking hard? Like, am I really this busy in my life that I can't take 15 minutes to practice just being with abundance? Like, really? And we've been, and many of us, and probably most people, like, quit at some point. And this is how we do everything. How we do one thing can show us how we do everything else. And it comes down to, can you give yourself 15 minutes a day? And when you do, you realize, man, I got so much time in the world. Because your mind is completely shifted when you do that, when you sit with just meditation for a while. Okay, can you do that for 40 days straight? So it's got every single day, 15 minutes, you listen to it. It's really only 10 mantras that you're listening to, and it repeats 4 times. So that's the 40 days. And then you just go and then you write down what filled your mind. Okay, what lack was there before and what filled it immediately? And that's the abundance book, and of course it's got some really great things that it says, but none of the one thing is that none of these attributes, generosity, faith, open-mindedness for a teacher of God, can exist without trust. Nothing happens in this world without trust. You cannot access anything without trust, because then it comes to manipulation. Without trust, we manipulate. If you go and have this conversation with the tenant and you're not trusting that what's supposed to happen is going to happen, and you're like, I want this result, then you're going to go into the conversation with an agenda behind this conversation. And just like the escape room, can I not be righteous about that right now? I will get the result that I'm supposed to get. It's the trust. It's the miracles that happen. The miracle that showed up, that me going to GrowthCon had me meet this little girl who's staying at my house right now with her dad downstairs in the basement. Hopefully I'm not too loud, but we have a cool room, extra like little house thing, or little extra bedroom thing. Yeah, and now they're here, and it's just so inspiring. And the other kid that I'm mentoring, Nick, is flying out here tonight, and they're gonna get to meet, and we're gonna do a podcast episode, and I'm just so excited about that. So I was thinking for a while, I was deciding between the two names of my podcast. Is it going to be Apartment Nightmares, or is it That Changed My Life? So collectively, after this conversation, I think we all know what the answer is. We all know what I've chosen. It's not up to me. But if I was like, I need to make money, and it needs to have the right SEO, it needs to talk about real estate, all this stuff. But I got really clear. That changed my life.
Yep.
We bought all the domains, we bought the podcast things, and I've interviewed 5 people already that have changed my life. And the intention of this first couple episodes is for me to express my gratitude to them while on that call, and learning about the dots that led them, those moments that changed their life. And I'm throwing a virtual conference in April, which will be the launch of my podcast. And I will have 15 people interviewed by that point. And I'm super excited. And I put down on paper, who are the 15 people in my life that have really shifted and impacted me. And like, after deciding that changed my life was going to be the podcast name, all of a sudden, everything became clear to me, what I'm supposed to be doing with the podcast. There was no more stuckness about it. Right? Because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be the guy known for multifamily and all that, but that isn't even me. People in my life are telling me that's not what inspires me most about you. This is, and if you see my Instagram stories and Instagram reels, it is not about real estate anymore. It's not the NOI, it's not the cap rates, it's not all of that stuff. I'll throw that in there here and there because it is part of what I do in life. But the most important conversation that matters to me is, first of all, how do I extend more love and more joy? And how do I inspire and empower people? So empowering teens, empowering women, and the conversation with God. All of my posts have something to do with that now. I had so many real estate videos and things lined up. I was like, scratch all of that. We're not posting another one of those. I'm going to start recording these ACIM calls in such a way that could be cut up. And we're going to talk about God. And we're going to talk about spirituality. We're going to talk about how to perceive money, how to really create abundance in our lives. And abundance is not just money. It's our relationships with our family and all the things. All of a sudden, everything became really clear to me. I've already spent about $60,000 on my virtual conference. I'm like, what am I doing? But I just have so much trust now. And it was all right after I decided That Changed My Life is going to be the podcast name. How like crazy. The mind, the thinking between the question I have between these two names of my podcast could have that much of an impact on my life in the way that I think about everything. Now, where in your life do you have a conflict? That like, if we took the meaning and the beliefs out of everything, and we're just like, if nothing really had any meaning, if money had no meaning, what choice would I make? What would be more impactful? What would have more purpose behind it? So yeah, something that simple changed everything for me in how I'm approaching things moving forward. So yeah, I don't even know how we got there, but that's great. Go ahead, Marlene.
Hey, Alex, and how beautiful and profound what you just shared. Thank you. And I have to say, it's the same thing here. I don't know if I ever shared with you, but when I went to the Grant Cardone Summit, I was like, what am I doing here? He's definitely not my cup of tea. The whole persona, what he, I don't know, how he present information, and it reminded me a lot about Donald Trump. And I do not, I know this is not about politics, but I do not align with that kind of, as I said, just persona. But that brought me to you and what you're doing. And one day, whenever I am launching my podcast, you will be one of those 15 people for sure. Like, no, for sure. And this week, I don't know even how to share this, but as you know, I have little ones, right? Like in the in the daycare where my little one goes to, Allison, there is this 5-year-old boy. He was good and healthy, and I still do not know the reason, like behind it, but he went home on February 8th. I didn't even know him personally, but just being there and see the sorrow of that family, I'm just not making sense of the whole thing. And I would love to hear what you, or if anyone, have to say about when kids, yeah, like when kids are taken from these worlds so early. Just seeing that family, he was the one in the middle, like I think he's like 9, 5, and 2 years old. So he's now, in peace, but just seeing that, I don't know, that family in such a pain. And what are we supposed to do in those kind of situations? Like, definitely right now, money is not that important for them, I'm sure. But and what is the message, And as a person of faith, what are you? I couldn't say anything, like not even a card or anything, because I don't know what to say. I really do not know.
Yeah. And you can only send love and prayers, and that if my mind can come to a neutral place, like, I know this is what it's meant to be. I know that death isn't the end. See, that's our thing. Our problem is we think death is the end. That's why it's so sad for us. Right? But when you look at your own death, when you die, if you look at it, when you die, do you want it to be a sad moment? This is also why we can use it as a motivation. Like, what is written for us? Like, this death, like, if all minds are joined and there is no separation between in bodies, that means a part of us might have passed, but death isn't the end. See, the first and the last lesson that you will learn is that you are not your body. Because where are you? Who are you? Like, if you, there's a witnesser, okay? And in a lot of practices, you start to recognize that there is a witnesser that is witnessing Alex's life play out. And there is a mind that cannot really be explained. This energy that is a mind. If we open our heads, if we open somebody's brain, do you find the mind? Do you find the soul? And if you don't, then what is the purpose of this body? See, for you, when a kid dies and it's really sad, It's because, and it's not that I'm being emotional or non-emotional or not understanding, but age is just an age, okay? And a part of us have belief systems, okay? Whether it's somebody says you're not good at singing, or you're not good at sales, or or that a child should have a chance to live out their life longer, and all the belief systems. This is why the Course says everything that happens in front of our face, around us, happens for us. There is a collective good that is happening. Everything works together for the forces of good, even death. So you can come to, if you're hurting from it, and you're just, because you're feeling the hurt of the family, you can only send prayers out, not only for them, but for you. That may I recognize all the blessings in my life now. Like if we took away all the beliefs, simply what that child represents is a reminder for us maybe to bless the things in our lives now, to recognize the blessings we have now. And it ain't about the money. It ain't about the material things. Last week or a couple days ago, I had a video that I put up. Do not make false gods of things that are not God. God is love. Focus on the growth and the sharing and the expansion of love. Do not make false gods of money, relationships, people. Okay, because they are reminders, they are teachers for you. Perceive them correctly so that you may see their function. Everybody that I meet, great teacher, because there's something about their life. And when I go out and network, I look to cultivate those relationships. I look to find these moments that have me feel very connected to them. Okay, it doesn't matter if this person is being really rude or all whatever else they're doing. I still feel they are my brother or they are my sister. And my spiritual practice is to see the light in them. And we do it with investments, we do it with people, all the relationships. Can I see the light in all of it? Can I allow this kid that passed at 5 years old to bring so much love into my heart that it changes me forever? It reminds me of who I am. It reminds me of what love is. It helps me rectify the perspectives that I had about all different things. Will I be more trusting? Because, see, two things can happen. See, again, everything is always, there's only two choices. If you let the ego and the fear take over, oh, I don't understand why. And there is no understanding why. Like if a plant dies, okay, or an insect dies, would you have the same level of compassion for that? Man, this cockroach just got crushed in the middle of the road. Like, I'm so sorry about this, the cockroach's family. Like, why would we not have that level of compassion, but we would have it for a child and their family and people? And we can say, oh, maybe they don't have these conscious thoughts and they're not hurting, but we don't really know that. What's actually hurting? Then we move up the chain. Elephants, all of a sudden we find out elephants have these, memories, and they pain and they feel pain, and we're like, oh my God. Like, now we have compassion for them. Can you just have compassion to have compassion? All right. And all things are neutral. Like what you're going through, Marlene, like for that family also is simply, can I add, it's a call for love. You're calling for love. The pain that you feel is you are calling for love. And the way that we keep love and we build love is now I go out and I give it away. See, the teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. I must find things that I can give away so that I can keep it. True philanthropy is to give in that way. It's not about giving away money so that you have less of it and somebody has more. It's not about making yourself feel good, feel better. It's about being in your most natural state of love and sharing it. Knowing that it's not about I get more, you have less, I have less, you have more. It's about that as I give it, I can only grow and I can only give, it can only fill me up more. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and you and I, you know, we can talk more about it and share. But yeah, because we started late, I'll give us a couple minutes to just, if there's any other questions, thoughts that anybody wants to ask, please feel free to do so. Oh man, and I flipped to such a great lesson.
I just wanted to say, I don't know what happened during these past few days with the abundance book, with the GrowthCon, which I never thought would affect me the way it has, but I just feel completely like energized, like a veil has been lifted over my eyes that it's been there probably for the past 30 or 40 years. And I never thought that I would resonate with Grant Cardone and his team. I was like something like, yeah, I'll put up with it, but I'm not going in on this. You know, that was my mental mindset. And now I just changed completely. I just shifted completely and I'm embracing like everything Uncle GC, because I just saw, it's that's what they say, projection makes perception. As soon as I changed the way I was projecting, I just saw everything completely different, including Megyn Kelly, which at first really rubbed me the wrong way, but I was able to see past her political views and realize what a powerful woman was, and that she was completely convinced of what she feels. She's not being righteous. She's not playing to an audience like I thought she was. She really believes and has convictions about the way she feels, and we all have the right to, you know, believe and see things the way we want.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so okay. We will conclude. Any last thoughts? Any questions? Okay. Lesson 333. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. So let's take one deep breath for all of us. Let's try to find the present moment. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Conflict must be resolved. It cannot be evaded, set aside, denied, disguised, seen somewhere else, or called by another name, or hidden by deceit of any kind, if it would be escaped. It must be seen exactly as it is, where it is thought to be, in the reality which has been given it, and with the purpose that the mind accorded for it. For only then are its defenses lifted, and the truth can shine upon it as it disappears. Father, forgiveness is the light you chose to shine away all conflicts and all doubts, and light the way for our return to you. No light but this can end our evil dream. No light but this can save the world, for this alone will never fail in anything, being your gift to your beloved Son. Conflicts must be resolved. Forgiveness ends the dream of all of conflicts here. So that's lesson 333. Conflicts must be perceived correctly, not to escape from or to attack with or to judge with. You just have to perceive it correctly to see the illusions of all the conflicts. All right, so may all of your conflicts be resolved today, and may you see them truly for what they are, as a reflection of love. So thank you all for being here and sharing this with me. I'm going to try to fix my computer before our think tank call. And
Did you pick that lesson randomly, Alex?
Yeah, I just flipped it.
Isn't it? God
Well,
is
I do it every
perfect.
time. I just flip to one of the lessons. Yeah.
It was
Alright.
perfect for me too.
Go fix your computer.
Legends call
Perfect for you,
coming up.
Layra, for sure.
Yes, for sure.
See you guys in a little bit.
Thank you, Alex.